You're listening to Conversations with ClubRight, the podcast where we delve into what it's like owning a business in the fitness industry and offer practical insight to help you grow and thrive. It's been a challenging few years for us all, so join us every Tuesday for new episodes where we talk about everything from member retention in the economic climate we're currently in to building a long-term growth strategy for your club, as well as stories of when I ran my gym. So, I'm your host, Wayne Heath. Looking forward to getting into this episode. So, 2024, welcome back to Conversations with ClubRight, and I will be introducing my guest Ryan very shortly, but just hopefully everyone had a fantastic Christmas, an awesome new year, and getting ready to start the year in a big way. And in a big way is how we want to start the new year, because our guest today is Ryan from Raccoon Consulting. We're going to go over a number of different things, which are potential predictions for 2024, ideas, things that are being sort of discussed openly, and some you may agree with, some you may not, and of course that's part of what we're here for today. And like with all episodes, we want to make sure that these are all ideas, not necessarily 100% what you might want to do, but if you look at your business, how these theories or potential ways to grow your business could dovetail into it, of course, that means that the whole idea of this conversation with Ryan today has been a real benefit. So without much weather to do, let's introduce Ryan. So take it away, sir.
Well, thank you very much for having us on, Wayne. It's obviously we've known each other for a hell of a long time, but happy New Year to start off with.
And a happy New Year to you, sir.
Yeah, we've known each other a real long time. So now I'm a business consultant. I own Raccoon Consultants, among other things, as well as obviously we run our own podcast as well. So that people are welcome to come and join that. But yeah, I've been in the industry 25 years, worked for some big companies, the likes of Marriott, Homes Place, Fitness First, owned my own club, and then I've had my consultancy for 10 years. So
wow, that's flown by.
I can't believe it's a decade cut coming up this year. So absolutely, I've been around a long while. I've seen a lot of things. Worked predominantly with independent clubs,
yes,
independent franchise hotels. Started to do a little bit more work in the leisure trust field as well. So a really good basis to have this discussion. Really, I see a lot of things that are happening, a lot of trends that are coming through. So yeah, looking forward to this.
Brilliant. Well, and I'd say, I think the interesting thing from your point of view, Ryan, you see lots of different levels of business, different sizes, whether it be an independent small studio all the way up to some much larger groups. So I think it's very interesting to see some of your insight onto that. So I guess it kind of leads us nicely into the first question, really. So we've got some predictions, and it's all about having potentially a holistic approach to wellness. It's something we've talked about in our blog recently, but obviously being familiar with the term, just to sort of clarify listeners, is it's all about the physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual components of health. That's what we would describe an holistic wellness outlook to be. So what's your thoughts on the holistic wellness approach as a trend? What's your thoughts on that, Brian?
I think this is going to grow quite considerably. It's probably going to be the biggest fundamental change in our industry over the next 5-10 years, if I'm honest. Take all the trends that have happened over the years with COVID forcing various things, with hybrid and whatever, which we'll come on to. But I think the fact that wellness now, and I think it's important to look at this because the industry can break down quite significantly. I think for many years we've been fitness. It's always been about, the trends have been about what style of group fitness, what type of equipment, how hard we can go. It's gone from training, a lot of running, to high rocks, to CrossFit, to functional training, to weight training. That changes, but fundamentally it's still fitness. And I think what's happened over probably the last 12, 18 months, possibly even since COVID, this has gradually been building, is very much into wellness. And if you have a look at especially the leisure trusts, their whole ethos now is a large majority of these now are not building fitness clubs. They don't have they have gyms clearly, but
Okay.
their whole ethos is a move away from fitness to wellness. If you
Wow.
speak to the likes of Andy King, John Oxley, Mark Tweedy, I'm going to miss people out here,
Yeah.
all those guys, and McPhail, all those guys, all this move to wellness. So what they're trying to do is sort of go, it's not just about the physical of the individual. We need to look at their mental health,
Absolutely.
their habits. Why are they doing certain things? Why are they eating in a certain way? And as you well know, I'm great friends with Glenda River Allen.
Yes.
She's a
Written
doctor
that recent book.
in wellness, written books, all sorts. Now, I can't get away from this side of it because obviously Glenda's amazing work. But if you see, she's been doing it for 20, 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, finally,
people are taking notice, aren't they?
Absolutely. This is all about her. So I think people need to take a look at it. And funnily enough, I was thinking about this morning before I came on. And I think it's really important. Whilst it is a massive trend, I think the key for me is clubs still need to understand what their core market is. Yes. So when we're talking about clubs going, should I jump into this wellness? There's a couple of things they need to consider is what type of club are they? What are they trying to attract? Are they currently successful? If you have a successful club, why or business, why are you going to suddenly change track and go down this wellness route?
Or what elements of that wellness piece could they actually deliver? You know, you could sit there and go, well, I can't do that spiritual bit. I'm not particular. I could actually help with emotional and social because we can get some social stuff going. You know, it's kind of, then that also impacts the positivity on the mental side at the same time. So it's almost like, what can I deliver within the existing format I've got? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, if you have a look at the great work your PT and Glenda's doing for Reach Wealthy, they're not sure whether I'm allowed to talk about it actually, but potentially
I'll talk about it, Ryan. Just do it.
Well, hey, but there's a big development potentially next year. They're looking at the idea of wellness coaches in clubs and stuff. I'm sure we're allowed to say that.
Yes.
But obviously there's more to that, but it's almost like having a PT in the club. You have wellness coaches in clubs. Now there's that sort of thing, but I think it's really important that what we don't do as an industry is take wellness and go, oh, it's just this. Throw any Tom, Dick and Harry, do a weekend course on mental well-being, and suddenly now that we're professionals in
but they're
well-being.
not truly understanding the wellness side of it. It's a little bit like, and this is, hopefully this is not taken the wrong way, it's where people grabbed hold of boutique and they thought, right, I can do this boutique thing. I can suddenly charge more money per month for this boutique service and come up with a nice logo and a bit of branding, and then suddenly they're boutique. Well, maybe that wasn't really the case. And I think, you see what I mean? This kind of
offering, it was just the name and the price.
It's like the buzz thing to get involved with is wellness right now, but delivering wellness is very different to developing or delivering fitness, isn't it? But the two are intertwined. But what can
I think there needs to be a huge education piece, and I think we've found what we need to do. Absolutely, we've found now another part of the market that we can bring so many more people. Because let's be honest, 15-16% of the population members of gyms, it's pretty poor, really.
Yeah,
now that's not how many people exercise. I think it's about 48% or 50% of the people are playing sport, gym, doing some form of exercise. But in terms of gyms, it's really poor, 15%. So if we can find another way of bringing people into our facilities, great. But what we can't do is suddenly say we're now these experts. There's so many people, and I'll just look down and go, oh my Lord. And you see this person who's been in the industry for so long, suddenly overnight, they're a wellness coach. And I know it drives Glenda mad.
Yeah.
But there needs to be more education, needs to be resource put behind it, train people properly, and then take this wellness approach into, because I think it's going to be massive. I do think it's going to be a fundamental change in terms of how health and fitness, it also leads us into being able to support the NHS more.
Yes.
And I think overall, the likes of UK Active will get more traction from the government and everyone else. And I think this is one of the reasons why they're getting behind it.
Of course.
We will start getting more traction once we're able to deliver more than what we just did in it.
And you're delivering a service to the whole person, aren't you?
Yeah, we help the healthy, generally. Yes, we help people lose weight, whatever, but we generally, the healthy people are members of our clubs. And this is an opportunity to go that step further and start helping the unhealthy and start getting those people that do have challenges, that do need more support, that do want a different a different flavour from
potential deconditioned market as well. You know, it's a big market that's still very much out there, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And also it brings in a lot more. So suddenly now your holistic therapists that have always sat on the outside of us now become part of us. So I mean, you can anything from Reiki to massage, all that, and the spas, it all start becoming a joined up system. Whereas before it was very much fitness, spa, holistic, all separate industries, and now hopefully we will start bringing that together. And I think if we can manage that, I can't remember the word Andy King uses. It's all about taking all these stakeholders,
of course,
and bringing them together. There's a word they use in but it's about bringing all these stakeholders together, and not saying fitness is the leader, because we're definitely not in the great scheme of health. We're tiny. We really are tiny. When you look at the NHS and all that's entailed, and weight loss and food and nutrition, we're a very small part. So it's a matter of finding a way of bringing all those together and creating this wellness ecosystem that we can all play a part in. And it's then understanding what part we play in that ecosystem. I think ours is getting bigger, which will allow us to play more of a part. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest trend.
I think that's what's quite interesting is what you just said there. So if we talk about, you know, if we've got a club listening to this right now, who is potentially independent club, or what we class as the fitness facility that wants to take more interest and get involved in this, what would you say would be the best way that they could start to approach that subject?
I think you reach out to the professionals. So you reach out to the likes of Glenda, River, Allen, or reach out to me and I'll put you in touch. But it's not just Glenda. There's others out there that do these great things. Obviously, Glenda's just my mate, so it helps. But there's a lot of different. Even reach out to the likes of Andy King, John Oxley, those guys, GM Active. Even if you're an independent club, I know Andy's now. He's got a private practice, so he's a private consultant, so he's helping clubs predominantly leisure trusts. But he reach out to people like that who've got the experience of moving big organisations into this wellness field, and they'll be able to give you the advice. Yes, you could do it yourself. Yes, there are certain courses you can go and take now. There are mental wellbeing training courses. So get yourself educated, though. Understand it, and then if you're confident to launch it yourself, go for it. If you want more advice, speak to the professionals. Most of these guys you can reach out, have a free conversation with, and see where you can take it. But I wouldn't necessarily suddenly go, let's pivot our business to wellness.
And suddenly you become this wellness expert without any real structure and knowledge to support it. That would equally be dangerous, wouldn't it? Like we just said, you know, having the right people to understand what wellness is about and the facets of it, and how to deliver it in an independent fitness facility is the difficult part.
And I'd also have a look at it and go, is this right for my business? So is there things we can do to sort of go a bit like clubs years ago? We used to hire all of our PTs. They used to be employed PTs. We used to now it's either 50-50 or full freelance PTs coming in. Is there an opportunity to do something similar where you almost have a service that is a freelancer? You bring a professional to provide that service. Can you bring that nutritional service in? Can you bring that wellness and mental well-being service in? And I think that may be the more desired approach. So you're not, as a business owner, suddenly go, now I'm going to go on another cap.
Exactly.
I literally bring a professional in, provide the opportunity for that person to succeed and build a business, but also build on within mind. Start joining them up instead of being a bit like, if you have a look now, probably jumping in a little bit here, but a trend in America that's coming out is a lot of franchises under one roof. So you'll find one business owner will own a Soul Cycle, a Anytime Fitness, and they're owning all under one scenario. So when you go into almost like a shopping centre for different
services.
And that's starting to become a trend in America. So it may be a similar idea on wellness, where you almost become, you have your gym, but you're slotting on additional services.
And I think the important thing here is to recognise is that people will pay for wellness. It's not something you just decide to add in, a little bit like the giveaway of 24-hour gyms decided to become a 24-hour gym just by opening for longer hours. Yes, that's one solution for 24-hour fitness. But if we're looking at a solution here, people are prepared to pay you more money So don't add it in as a service that you're actually going to give away and increase your cost of the business. Then that's quite an important part, especially if you're going to get in expertise. That expertise has got to be paid for, which means you need to charge your customers more for that level of service that they want.
I think coming on to that, actually, that's potentially a trend that's going to go forward as well. I know it's not something on our plan, but
no, but it's relevant.
Think gym owners are starting to realise that they can charge for their services.
Of course.
There's a big discussion, and you see it in the independent groups all the time. Should I increase our prices? And it's not about ripping people off, but the fitness industry still remains probably the cheapest form of entertainment if you took it on a per visit value of anything else you can do. Even cheaper than a cinema. It's cheaper than going out.
Well, anything's cheaper than a cinema, crikey.
Absolutely, but it's the cheapest form of outside entertainment, other than free. Going for a walk in a park. That you can do, and I think people are starting to realise that actually clients will pay if you deliver a service. So if you're just going to be a rented treadmill facility, absolutely you cannot keep increasing your rates to a high level. But if you add service, add value, people will pay that. I think people are starting to realise that. And that's why you look at these small group training facilities, they have 100, 150 members, and they're extremely profitable because they're charging £150, £200 a month. But on the back of that, that client is getting results. The facilities are great. They're getting amazing service. They know who they are, so they're building community. And so you've got all that together, and you sort of go, actually, we're charging for what we're delivering, and people are willing to pay for it.
And generally, they, like you say, they are willing to pay for it because they see value in the services that are being provided.
I always go back to the old adage with Disneyland. If you go to Disneyland, Disney World in America, apparently it cost the average, and this was a few years back, but it cost the average American family about $10,000. They saved up, I think it was 5 years on average, they saved to go to Disneyland. All right?
Wow.
Yeah, their customer service and value for money was always in the late 90s. So you would pay 3 times the amount for a burger in Disneyland than you would anywhere outside.
Believe you me, I went this year, and it was a fortune.
Still, you have huge value back, value scores back to Disney World, because what they were getting as a service and a value and an experience far surpassed what they were spending. So they ended up spending far more than they were ever going to. But I don't know what it's like now. I've never been, but I don't know what it's like now. But I know probably 5-6 years ago, when someone was talking me through this, their value scores were in the late 90s. You're talking 97, 98 for 5-star ratings. And you just like, that's a huge organization. I mean, you're not talking tens of people. You're talking millions of people go through that, spend far too much money and still come out going, that's the best holiday you've ever had.
And I thoroughly enjoyed every part of it. What a great time we had. That's interesting.
And that's what value is all about. It's the price versus the service. And if the two match up.
And sometimes it can be perceived value as well. It's perceived value of what they're getting and the services they're providing. So, I think that's a really interesting point. So what we're saying in essence is to get going down this road. And if you want to embrace this potential trend for 2024, now we're there in 2024, something you want to look at. Get the right advice. I think is the real key to this one, isn't it?
Absolutely. Certainly don't skirt it. If you think there's an opportunity, go for it.
And equally,
get the right advice and training stuff.
Like you said, if it's not your bag and it's not what you want to do because you're specialising in a certain level of fitness, which might be doing really well, ignore it. It's not a problem. No one's going to say, sort of judge you otherwise. But if you're embracing new opportunities and you think it might be right for you, get the right advice, which I think totally makes sense. And it kind of leads us interestingly to another sort of question, really, with regards to the shift in a lot of target audiences and how many businesses are looking at the rise of the Gen Z or Gen Z, whichever part of the world we're in at the moment, Z or Z. We've had that conversation in the office recently when one member of the team was saying Z, someone else said Z, and then we had all manner of argument about that, but that was quite interesting. But anyway, we'll call it Gen Z for the purpose of being in the UK.
American phrase, isn't it? So I say Gen Z, but I say Z.
But if you look at that generation that's active, because of they account for more than 80% of gyms, goers, make it quite a big market, to say the least. Where do you see that shift going for clubs with the Gen Z kind of style of customers?
It's a really interesting conversation, this one, because the current new generation coming through, funny enough, it's my son's age group and
mine,
absolutely. And there's a couple of things that stand out. One, They are so much more image conscious.
God,
So
yes.
and image conscious and self-awareness.
It's interesting.
So
Okay.
they're more likely to go and train. They're more likely to be fit and healthy. Yes, I mean, we still have the obesity stuff and everything else, but I think they are so much more self-aware in terms of what's right, what's wrong. The education out there is so much better. But the funny thing is, there's a few things that don't quite fit, which the older generations have. They're not as loyal. They're certainly not as loyal to brands as
No.
an older. If you go, classic example, if you go to a hotel gym, for instance, they tend to have a bigger over 55, over 60s age group. Their retention levels tend to be so much better. I mean, I'm talking exponentially better than a club that's got high Gen Z.
Of course.
A couple of reasons potentially is one, Gen Z, they're still building their careers, so they're a lot more transient work-wise, so they're moving around the country more. Also, what they tend to do is a bit like the World Economic Forum is saying, we will rent everything and own nothing scenario. The
Have
Gen
laptop
Z,
will travel, right?
well, exactly. But the Gen Zs are very much in that mindset, in the sense of I'll rent things. I won't buy it. I'll go to that because that's my craze at the minute. I'm going to try something new. So especially if you go into like the London boutique market now, you'll find a lot of these kids have memberships or passes at 5 or 6 facilities. They don't. Gone are the days where they're joining a David Lloyd or a Fitness First, and that's all they go to. They've suddenly got a Soul Cycle, a Pilates membership, a boot camp membership, a Harry's or wherever, and they've got passes at all these different places. And all they use ClassPass. That's why ClassPass works really well in London, because these kids are going, they don't want to be a member. Just what I want to go and try that. I want to do that. I want to.
Of course.
If I go to one club, they don't really offer me everything I need. So
but there's different things for different people, and I think what you said there, I mean, it's one of the reasons, and I'm going to give us a major ClubRight sort of push here, because of course we recognised that a while ago. So you've got the ClubRight app. If you've got a yoga club, gym, maybe a Pilates club, all three are using ClubRight. That means that the customer can use one app to access all three clubs, because it gives them that ability to jump from one thing to another. And we kind of recognised that probably about 3 years ago. I'm not saying we were necessarily leading the market, but what we did recognise is making sure that people had one point of access and making their lives easier to flip between one service and another.
I mean, if you come up into the regions, like I live in North Yorkshire, you don't have the variety. So you tend to join one club, and that's your lot. And so if you're a owner of a facility in a place like where I live, Silsden and Skipton, around there, you're more likely to sort of go, okay, we've got this facility, we've got the opportunity to corner the market in 3 or 4 different areas.
Indeed.
Whereas if you were in London or Manchester, a place like that, you're almost going, okay, if we go in boutique, we stick at this and stick in our lane. Don't try, because the clients generally are not going to stay for us for all services anyway. No. They're gonna move around. And the other thing to consider is how then people pay. So there's been a big change. Like I say, in the regions, direct debit and stuff still really popular. You go to London or the big cities now, quite often passes are the way forward. So block of 10, block of 5, individual passes using ClassPass. Gym Pass is the other one. Even Hustle's still London way. But that's the way people they're consuming
They'll buy a package of 10 sessions, for example. Pay for those. When the 10 run out, they may renew it, they may not renew it. But equally,
as a club, you have to look at it and go, okay, what is the demographics in the market in my area? Do I need to offer that? Because if you stick at the traditional membership option, you may actually be killing your business.
Of course.
Now, it's obviously very dependent on where you are, location-wise, what your competition is around and what you're offering. So you need to look at it. But there may absolutely be an opportunity to say, yes, traditionally we don't offer pay-as-you-go. But we're going to open that up now. We've got a studio. It's got 50% occupancy. We need to fill this. So do we go ClassPass? Do we start selling, block bookings? Because some people want that flexibility.
I think that's the interesting thing about back in the day, we've obviously also, and still do to a small, large extent, talk about a 3 weeks pass. But in the world that we've just described, someone would actually be having no free passes. They've actually gone ahead, paid for a week's worth of use, and then during that week, which is paid for income to the club, they're deciding whether they might want to buy future packages or even engage in a recurring payment for a membership. But actually, it's almost like paid for passes.
Well, it's interesting, actually. You talk about that. If you go to a lot of clubs and a lot of their campaigns in London now, that free pass, that free 1 day pass, free 7 day pass is gone.
Yeah,
what they do on social media is, and then we did this at Urban Pilates, it's three. So instead of charging, their individual session was 30 quid. So we did 3 sessions for 35 as an intro session, intro only. And the way it worked was, obviously, as they're paying for these passes, you're generating more income for your marketing. So now people are paying for you to deliver that advert, which is
for that
great.
Service. Yeah.
You can now drive your marketing spend. Alex Hormozzi is massive for this. The way he sells his six-week passes is you sell one for a certain amount, but you don't take that money. You push that money back into your marketing, and you keep doing that so you can increase your marketing spend, drive more people through the business, and that's what you're doing with your passes.
Because the end result's the same. You're still a free pass in a way, isn't it? Because you're just funding your marketing.
Absolutely. But what does it do? It increases the chance of them turning up because they're paid for it. It increases your ability then to deliver a service and wow that customer because they are showing up. It gives you the ability to interact with them better because they're not you're not phoning a random person who's filled out a form on Facebook and completely forgot that they filled it out. They're physically paid for something.
A real person's had the experience.
You know they're going to be local, so you're not got random people from all over the place. So it actually secures a better prospect for you, but also builds up your advertising spend. So there's something to be said for people are scared of passes because what they do is it doesn't give you that commitment. Obviously, someone signs up for a membership, you've got that month. So they're scared to do 10 session passes and stuff like that because they've got more work to keep. But if you put the processes in place, the automations, I know ClubRight can do that. Various systems we use that can do that. So it tracks the number of sessions, gets down to the last 2, job done, emails go out, time to rebuy. You can do all of that sort of stuff now. The automation processes on CRM systems like ClubRight are so significant that you never miss out the opportunities to
you started it and you just keep in contact with that person at different stages that they've had. But equally, I think the nicest thing about all of it is that you don't, I only think I like your point very much of reinvesting the money collected into future marketing. But ultimately, it's no longer a cost to you. What you've actually created is a fantastic opportunity because that person has had the experience. And that positive experience is the reason why they'll repurchase. And
conversion rates are higher. The show rates are higher than a free pass.
Yes.
Secondly, the conversion rates are higher because they actually, if you deliver what you promise, be with a lot of these things, and it's always been the case. Clubs do free passes and then just almost sign them up and just let them in the club. And you're not going. The idea is to show off what you're so bloody good at.
Absolutely.
So why would you have someone in the club and then not show off all your wares?
It's like inviting someone to a car showroom and not offering them a demonstration, right? You can't drive it.
Beggars belief. So many clubs will do free passes or even paid passes and then just go, whatever. There's no meet and greet, there's no service, and then suddenly go, oh no, the conversion rates are poor. Well, I wonder why. Because they should be treated, and this sounds horrible, but they should be treated even better than your members because that's their first experience. The members by now should have a nice experience and they've got the run of the mill, they know what's happening. But that person is their first, and we all know 15 to 30 seconds that can make an impression on you and your facility. So everything needs to be spot on. You need to push whatever your club is, whether it be Pilates studio or a gym. You need to take them through a journey, especially on that first session, to make sure they.
It's your chance to sell your services and as you say, you need to be wowing that customer. And I think it's an interesting conversation because when you look at free passes, dare I say it, we've got plenty of companies over the years that have created lots of inverted commas free passes or leads that never get followed up because no one in the gym actually sees value in it. But if a customer's paid for something and that customer's experiencing the product you're trying to sell them for the future and for today, you've got to be in a better position, right?
Oh, absolutely. So that's where I think the Gen Z is shifting our market a little bit. I think the other thing with the Gen Z, and I know we're going to talk about tech, so it probably moves us nicely onto that.
Yeah, of course.
Is the fact that they're so much more tech savvy. So I speak to my son, and it's just a boom, boom, boom. I sit there. I'm 47. You know what I mean? I remember the days like you do. Sorry, Taylor, you probably don't. But I still remember the days before the internet, before mobile phones. I was at uni
before the
mobile
internet
phones,
in this little box.
Yeah, I still remember having to go up to the phone box to ring my
Yeah.
girlfriend at uni. So
This is the internet. It's in a box. It's in a box.
yeah, exactly. So, but they don't have that problem anymore. They are so tech savvy. So when it comes to the sort of tech trends, they've all got their watches. They've all got their their trackers and stuff like that. I guess the thing for me, and this has been going for a while as we move into this sort of tech question. Sorry if I've jumped your question.
No, it's perfect. It's brilliant.
As we move into the tech thing, I'm not convinced yet that the industry's got it right. Yes, we have the likes of MyZone, and I think that's brilliant for the training in the club and the community, and having the heart rate training on the boards and stuff like that, because it's given us a new way.
It's really motivational.
A new way to motivate people and everything else. But I think a lot of people will wear an Apple Watch and a Garmin, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the clubs don't interact with that. We had First Beat on our podcast a few series ago, and they do like the heart rate tracking, the stress tracking, and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Now it's an amazing system. You wear it for 3 days, and it tells you where your stress points are and whether you're sleeping, all that sort of stuff. A lot of their technology is used in the Garmin to tell you. I don't know whether you've seen it. Gives you your life battery. It will tell you on your watch. If you've had enough sleep and you recovered, it'll give you 100% life battery. Mine and my chronic fatigue sits at about 40% most of the time. So I know, well, there you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you've got all this tech, but I still don't think as an industry, clubs have grasped it. So we have Tanitas to do all the body fat and everything else, but we do the test. What happens then? So
and something like visceral fat, which something like that does an exceptionally good analysis of, is so very important. But how is it dealt with?
Club that's no way. I don't know very many clubs that will do that and then go, right, now we need to look at your diet. You've got high visceral fat.
Yeah.
That it's important for this. That's all the fat that sits around your organs. If we don't do something about that, now you're going to lead to coronary heart disease and so on.
Absolutely.
We need to tackle that. What is the solutions that have been put in place once we've got that information? And I'm not convinced. A lot of these clubs will have these great bits of tech, but I'm not convinced we're anywhere near.
So so your argument, quite rightly, is that the tech is there, through things like Tanita and watches and all manner of different devices. But how is the actual output of that tech being implemented to the benefit of the member or the customer?
Absolutely. I think it's still very much left to the person with their own app, having to do their own education, having to go, well, okay, that's recorded that. Like I don't know, Strava. Oh, I've drawn a nice picture on the bike, riding around. That's great. What do we do with that data as a club? Yeah. When we were talking to, we talked to Richard Sinnott and Bobby Verdum on our podcast, two Americans that worked with big athletics clubs, and they had a thing called Gyms Without Walls. Oh, right. So their idea was, instead of everything happening within the club, we should be able to, with technology, with communities and everything else, we should be able to take the stuff that they're doing outside of the club and utilize that in terms of their benefit. So if they've gone for a marathon, we should be able to track that and go, oh, great results, great run yesterday. So how do we take this amazing data? Because I don't think tech needs to change a huge amount. It does sleep, it does food, it does your oxygen levels, it does your sleep.
It does all manner of different things, yeah.
There's so much information. What we don't do as a fitness industry, and we really should, is take that data and go, this is, if you speak to Ollie Patrick and people like that who are really into this, they'll tell you that we've got some clubs that are real specialists that don't get it right, but probably 95% of our industry are really poor at it, and we've not grasped it. And it's how we then go, probably a bit like going back to the wellness side of it, Wayne.
Yeah, I was about to say exactly that.
How do we educate the staff and the clubs to go, okay, this is the information you've got at your fingertips. How do we then go, okay, this is how we're going to use it? So when someone does an induction or a review, should we be getting the client to bring their data from their watch or send it in prior so the staff can review it? And then when they sit down and go, do you know what? We believe you've got a challenge with your sleep. Let's work on that. It's not your training. It's not your nutrition. Your sleep is the problem. And this then fits into this whole wellness project that's coming.
Absolutely.
And the same problem they will have is if they don't engage this technology that's available to them, like First Beat, like all the watches and everything, they'll only go part of the way.
And I think it's an interesting point. So it comes back to when my wife and I had our clubs, where we did religiously every quarter review our customers' performance. We reviewed what their achievements were, what they were looking to achieve. And one of the ingredients we used to do was visceral fat. Have we reduced that visceral fat issue? Because that was a very important one for someone's fitness and well-being. But overall, it was the fact we bothered to review it was the bit that was important. And technology compared to now, to where we had our clubs, it's gone light years, really fast, moved super fast, that the availability of it is there. But you and I both probably would agree on this one to say that how many clubs still actually have a proper induction? Do they have an induction that actually bothers to look at someone's goals or what they're trying to achieve? Do they then, once they've done that, if they have done that, is it ever looked at again? So it's almost like, well, we did all of this, but it had no real relevance. I just knew I had to do it. I'll tick that box. That's in the bin. And now we're never going to review it again. We might see you again, Ryan, but that's about it. Are you okay with that? Because that's almost what we've done.
Exactly. And it's scary. And that's where these service levels, and you're sort of going, well, okay, people would pay. If you could almost guarantee results. If you had that data all the time, you knew how to analyze that data, and then obviously act on that data, and all your staff were trained to do that. And you don't have to have employed staff to do this. Personal trainers can do it because there's a benefit to them. And if you had that data and you could take someone from there to there in their time scale that they wanted, rather than just write a program and go follow this. Because let's be honest, I have chronic fatigue. You know that, Wayne.
Yes, indeed.
So if I just had an induction of someone, it wouldn't work for me.
Of course it wouldn't. Unless it was reviewed.
And tracking it and keeping on target and everything else, it's really important to me. Now, okay, I'm an anomaly. They're not that much right now. There's about 2 million people in the UK now have some form of ME or chronic fatigue, or long COVID. So there's a huge number of people. So just taking that condition, you sort of go, it's not as simple as just
writing. That's just one of many, right?
And then you take a healthy person. I don't know, a healthy person wants to lose 2 stone, for instance. You still got to monitor where their challenges are. Is it food? Is it whatever? And do that properly. Whereas I just think we go part of it. Some clubs do it brilliantly, and
they do, and that's unfair to say they don't, because they do.
Isn't it, to say we don't as an industry? But I don't think as an industry we do this right. And but the great thing is the tools are there.
Yes, they are.
All we now need is the education to sit in the middle. I don't think there's enough of that going on, and it's how we bring that in, because obviously there's a cost to that, and then it's obviously then looking. But
actually, in many respects, the review side of things is actually maybe just time, and then celebrating in that person's success. And then it's kind of always evolving, isn't it? What you did for the first 3 months of your program isn't relevant for the next 3 months, because you're not that person anymore. You've changed in some way. So reviewing it and looking at the technologies, statistics that may or may not be available to you, but looking at those will then give you an indicator as to what the next 3 months should look like. Review again. I'm using quarterly increments here, but could be every 6 months. I think the sheer fact that reviews maybe don't take place as often as they should do, and for some facilities, they may not even do a very detailed induction, or maybe even a proper program. I mean, I'm not saying people do or don't, but if you look at it from that point of view, what have you actually
there was
achieved?
A shift away from manned facilities, wasn't there, to very much. Obviously, everyone saw the budget clubs doing really well, and then obviously staffing prices started increasing. So the sort of model has shifted quite significantly from when we were first in the industry, Wayne, where everybody was employed. It was rare to have a freelance personal trainer, and now it's flipped the other way. But I think we can find ways of introducing, and I think the clubs that do this well don't treat a freelancer as freelance as such. They are part of the club. They still offer a great part of the service, and they integrate that into what they do. The personal trainer benefits hugely because they've got a steady amount of clients coming through their business. Whereas some clubs, literally, it's a them and us. And I think they've got to get away from this them and us. The PTs have to be part of the club in terms of the fabric of it. They're just paid in a different way. So the service that you offer has to include them. Same as the group PT models. there's no reason why you can't include the PTs in your group PT models. And if you can do that, you can increase service massively.
Yeah.
They win, you win, everybody wins, and
Yeah.
and the industry moves forward.
Which kind of leads us nicely into that the community side of things. Really, is focusing on that as a trend, because that binds people together. It's very much that community of, maybe slightly different, but if you've got everyone's together starting their skiing lessons together, that community or that little group, they're all in the same doo-doo, whether they like it or not, putting those skis on their boots for the first time. So building up community that we're all in the same place, we're all aspiring to build what we want and what we all want to get from the club. I think, how do you see the benefits of the community to the club? Because I think it's really quite important.
Yeah, I think community is huge. I mean, it's harder to build community in the bigger clubs, just simply because of volume of members. I remember when we were at Holmes Place, we had 8,000 members.
Wow.
Which over the 3-4 years I was there, I probably signed up 5,000 minimum in that time. With attrition and everything else. But you think there's absolutely no way. I used to walk around Nottingham and people would go, "Hi Ryan, how are you?" and not have a clue who's talking to you. Simply because.
But they knew you though, so that's a good thing, right?
Now it's obviously harder to build that, but there's still no reason why you can't. And there's a few ways to do it. One is having an amazing studio timetable. Studio classes, group fitness always brings better retention, better community to any club. They just do. It's easier.
Really do. You're right.
You've got an instructor at the front of the class. You've got a group of people doing the same thing, turning up at the same time each week.
Yeah.
They get to know each other. They're forced into an environment.
Yes.
So they get to know each other. So it's a lot easier if you've got a studio, put classes on, build the community that way. I think what has helped is small group training.
Yes.
Small group training has exploded in the last 12 months, 18 months. And I think with studios opening like that, and because they're only opening with 100, 150 members, it's very much better to build communities. So that's another, and what's happening is because that trend has gone so well, the bigger clubs have brought it into there. So if you look at most of the franchise clubs, they'll have a space for group personal training and small group training. A lot of the independents have brought it in. Then you've got amazing ones like Wild Training, people like that they build around. That's how they build their community.
And it's very cost effective to deliver as well, isn't it? Let's be fair. You've got 10 customers in a group, for example, one trainer, delivers that service in that hour to those 10 people. The cost hasn't changed, but the income's times 10.
Well, I thought we were speaking to Cameron Falloon from BFT. So obviously big Aussie franchise brand coming over to the UK. Now this is very much, it's a science-driven one, but it's all about community. So it's almost like it's group training. That's what it is. Yeah. And they have the planning of it is so much easier as well, because it's literally today's strength, tomorrow is and that's how they do it. They don't mess around. It's not a mix and match each day. It's Monday is this, Tuesday is this.
That's
it. Do you know what? Their clubs are rammed because of it. They're getting results. They're charging high premium for their facilities. They're able to do the science-backed stuff. So we're talking about all the tech. They're able to do that.
Of course.
Because the numbers are lower. They've got more contact with the members, and they've
got time with their customers, haven't they?
Absolutely. So community does work, and I think you see this growing a lot more in the fact that you've got the likes of High Rocks now. So these fitness competitions are growing. So CrossFit was the thing 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, and it's still around, obviously. But these fitness competitions, and there's more than just High Rocks. There's 4 or 5 now growing, and they've got very much more the community. So you've got the club community that are all training for High Rocks. Yeah. Then it goes out to the wider community because they're all turning up at these competitions. You look at one of the guys that I work with, Rick. He owns Graft. They do their own competition. Now they've got 5 or 6 that they do around the country, similar to High Rocks. So it's these fitness competitions. And that's breeding a community. And we all know how well CrossFit did.
Of course.
Theirs was all based on community. Whether you like the style of training, the community they created were amazing. Yeah. And that's why they're so successful, not because of their training style. I do not believe it's all about,
people like to belong to something. It's like the mud runs and all the rest of it. They're all the same.
You're almost part of a cult.
Yeah, no, you are. No, dare I say it.
Community is that strong. It's like a cult. And I think with these fitness things coming up, it's building communities within clubs a bit like the group training, the Pilates and the spin and all those sorts of things. It's a shared experience, and I think that's what people want. All this thing about when we come off the back of COVID and it was all going to go hybrid and online and virtual, and that's just, excuse the French, bullshit. That was never going to happen, Wayne. It just was never going to happen, because people are people. We need social. We're social people.
We're social animals.
Humanity
at the end of the day,
is all about interaction, and so if you can build a community, people will join in. There's a lot of clubs that go, oh, it doesn't really work. It doesn't work because you're not doing the right things.
Yeah. I mean, I still think the hybrid works for certain people post-COVID who, because of family situation or work situation, they still, had COVID not happened, they might have realised they couldn't do a virtual class, for example. So I still think there's an element of people that enjoy that and would continue to enjoy that, where some clubs have just said, right, the doors are open, we're going to shut that now. I generally think that they've closed the door on a few of those people along the way. At the same time, you have quite right to say we are social animals by default. And as human beings, we want to interact with other people. There's place for both. But yeah, you're quite right. That community is built.
I think generally you either want to do it on your own at home and you'll go buy a Les Mills membership.
Yeah.
And you'll go and buy whatever it is. I think the idea of having a club that's delivering classes online and in the club there's a lot of work involved in that for the odd person at home that wants to do it. And I think there is obviously a market for both. I mean, Peloton still somehow survives.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So you still got those people that want it. They want that. They can do it on the move. They can do it wherever. But in the same reason, there's still place for people training in the park and stuff like that. So there's all these different options. But I think this hybrid model of a club that delivered both, I think, was a pandemic thing. And I think was blown
still got a few people using it as a massive interest. So with, say, for example, with our service, you could actually have your unique Zoom link for that class. There will be people that have taken physical contact in that class, in that room, and there'll still be people dialing in. So you can have the best of both. You are right to say that since the doors opened, everyone did want to get back in, because that's also what they enjoyed about classes. There's no two ways about it. But there's also still a large number of clubs that are making use of a couple of people who wouldn't have actually come in and still can't come in, maybe not every day of the week, but they can still partake because we've made that facility available.
I know the Literature Trust, like Active Nation, they still have a really strong, they push it. I don't know how many people are signed up to it. I'm not close enough to them, but it's still a strong part of their marketing strategy. So yeah, I mean, community is just one of those things, but unfortunately, it doesn't just build itself.
No, and it's hard work. It's not. I mean, if anyone thinks building a community is easy, think again. It's not. But being friendly and being sociable, interacting with your customers, actually talking to people, where you actually give a damn. Sometimes that can't necessarily be taught. You have to really want to do that. But that's where community comes from. People saying, I was talking to John Grinrod very recently on our conversations with ClubRight, and we were talking about, isn't it just nice when someone says hello when you walk in and goodbye when you go? You sit there and think, well, that is actually more impactful than you take it for, because it's all acknowledging
when I was
people.
At Marriott, we had a thing called Fab Five, which was always smile, eye contact, hello, goodbye, every member every time.
Yeah.
And that was our thing. And our regional manager was a member of a big national chain down in Portsmouth, and he'd been there 5 years. And because they had a swipe in, you swiped yourself in with a card. He'd never once since joining had hello, not once. Hello, goodbye, not once in 5 years.
Yeah.
And you sort of going, was it Paul Bedford who said the three key reasons for leaving were cleanliness, not achieving your goals, and not having contact with a member or member.
Exactly.
And no communication.
And the point is, on point 3 that you mentioned there, Ryan, is that you don't know whether that person coming in that third time or that day was potentially the time they're judging whether they're going to continue their direct debit or cancel it. You don't know that. And like the example you mentioned to the other gentleman there for 5 years, you don't know which attendance of that 5 years might have actually been there last. So, yeah.
It is getting, they're the simple things. I mean, that's not building community, that's just service. And what people
well,
fail
it
to
is, but by
realise,
product, it builds community.
yeah, exactly. But strong community increases your retention rates, which means you need to sell less members. So when they're sitting there going, I need more leads, the first thing clubs ask me is, or say to me, Ryan, I need more leads. I need more leads. And you're like going, let's look at your retention.
Yeah.
And then you realise they're losing more members than they're signing up. And you sort of go, okay, it's that because you haven't got enough leads to catch it up. But then you realise their attrition is like 40, 50%.
Yeah.
So you've got a 1,000-member club losing nearly 500 members a year. You're going,
have to work hard to tread water.
Well, you're either treading water or you're going to go backwards because you can't keep selling. As your club gets older, more competition comes in. You can't keep selling at that rate every year just to stay flat. You've got to impact your retention. So improve your retention, you've got to reduce your attrition. And then even if you stay flat at sales, you're still then growing. And that's one of the first things we do is have a look. And obviously, if their retention is really strong, then it's okay. Let's have a look at your lead gen, because quite often it's not the volume of leads. They just can't generate enough leads to counterbalance the volume they're losing out the back door.
And looking at why you're losing someone is actually almost more important than why you're gaining someone. Always will be.
I mean, well, it's the same when you talk about automations and stuff like that. I know it wasn't part necessarily of our conversation today, but if you have a look at one of the big things that clubs should look at, it's either having a CRM system or having a system that can automate their client journeys.
Yeah.
It's not just about the personal interaction. It's about those touch points as you go along.
Correct.
The amount of clubs that I work with or start working with and they're going, well, we're going to do a PT offer. Right, when was the last time you communicated with your members? Oh, well, we probably sent out something 3 months ago. So the first email they get
is a sales one.
Is you've not told about the services or how great it is. You know what I mean? What's on offer in terms of what they can get out of it. You're literally sending them 10 sessions for 300 quid offer. Yeah. And no one's buying on that.
No.
You've got to keep this communication going. And if you've got a great automation process in place, and I know ClubRight does this, if you've got but if your CRM system doesn't, there's some great systems out there. We got ours, which is called Fit Leads, but there's various things you can use out there that can automate that either weekly, monthly, at certain touch points in their membership. If like yours, you can have it so if someone leaves or the direct debit bounces, you can have it so it automates a message to say one, to pay. Secondly, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Thirdly, come back and see us. Sort of thing. So you've got that communication going on to go, we don't want you to go. But most clubs, direct debit bounces, sod it, we've lost it.
It's just make sure we sold enough, an extra number of leads are coming in to fill the gap, as opposed to looking at why that gap existed, which I think
you can't have your attrition below 10%. Now, people are looking at it and go, 10%, that's like less than 1% a month. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You do your job right, you can have your attrition really low. But you've got to do your job right. You've got to be on the ball every day. You've got to make sure your club's clean. It's delivering the service that you promised. It's offering value, and you're communicating with your members. If you're doing all of those, I can promise you your attrition rates will drop exponentially. But most clubs don't. Most clubs spend all their time either selling or just firefighting the rubbish.
Which is why they need someone like you as a consultant to go in and identify that kind of thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm here for. But even if you don't use someone like me, Wayne, I think everybody should make sure they take at least a day out of their business every month, every quarter to go, okay, where are my client journeys? What are we delivering? What are the value? Yeah. What are my stats? So what is my lifetime value? How long are my members staying? What is my attrition rate? Because a lot of clubs don't even know.
No.
And I think if they get that right and they know their business, quite often they can identify and go, actually, most people, I can promise you this, and this is really scary. If you go to most clubs, Wayne, and you'll know this speaking to them, they don't have defined client journeys. So what's your sales process? What do you mean? Well, what happens when someone rings? Yep. What is the process? What's your tour journey? What happens when someone doesn't join? What's the follow-up process? What are the emails that go out? Okay, they've joined. What happens? Do they get an induction? Okay, how do we introduce them to PT, to Group X, to small group training?
Yeah.
Other services that you offer? How do we introduce them to the bar? How do you get them to bring a friend? All that stuff is just left for chance. Oh, well.
And I think left to chance is so very true. So very true. And I think this could be another very interesting conversation to take from today. And I think, listening to the kind of subject we're talking about, I think retention could be a very nice one for us to revisit again in this year in 2024. So
absolutely,
I think looking at what we've discussed, and we've gone over a lot of stuff here, which I'm really excited about, is for you, what's the biggest opportunity for 2024? For now, we're in that year. What's my biggest opportunity as a gym owner?
I think the clubs is to take their business and start looking at the detail. They need to take all of last year, go into the detail and go, okay, what were our conversion rates on our sales? What were our attrition rates? What value we had, and what are our client journeys? Probably the biggest change any club can make is to look at their client journeys and define them. So go, what do we want our clients to experience when they're in the club? So take sales away for a minute and just start with your member journey. So the moment someone joins your club, what happens? What emails do they get? What welcome do they get? What induction do they get? What is that process all the way through? And at least the first 90 days, there has to be something in place. And that includes automations. It includes managers' calls.
Yeah.
So there's contact points all the way along to make sure that person is. We all know it takes at least 6 weeks to build a habit. So why do we leave someone on their own for 6 weeks? It takes 6 weeks to build a habit. We want to encourage them. We want to make sure that program we wrote is working. There's nothing worse than writing a program and that person hates every minute of it.
Yep.
Really don't enjoy this. They leave. They stop. And that's why so many people join in January and then don't carry on, because they come in quite often. The people who join in January aren't the regular exercises. They haven't swapped club all of a sudden. The ones that join in January are people have either tried it and tried it and tried it and tried again and failed.
And trying something else to see if they can work.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're new to exercise. So they're the people that we need to really put cotton wool around, give them a nice cuddle, make sure they know what they're doing. And all the way along, every week, every couple of weeks, how are you doing? Check in. What are we doing? Introduce you to this, try that.
Yep.
And just make sure that journey is identified. And they should, if you've done your job right, I don't care whether they're a bodybuilder or a Pilates person or someone who's brand new to it, you should be able to encourage them to go to every part and every service in your club if you do it right. Whether that's by offering a discount, offering a special opportunity, encourage even a bodybuilder who's goes on the bodybuilder is the wrong word, but someone who just does the same type of training wants to. I know loads that if you push them into a yoga, Pilates, and stuff like that, they need that flexibility.
Yeah.
Quite often they're built they're so strong and so they're not particularly flexible.
Yeah.
And so they could do with that style of training.
Oh, absolutely.
Give their body something different.
And I think the other thing to look at also is to think about the fact that referrals come from this as well. Now, referrals is a really big thing to come from exactly what this is about as well. You're talking about referrals will come straight away from doing a good journey.
Absolutely. So if they were to change one thing in their business, and the one thing that I probably putting myself out of work here, but that's probably the one thing I do with most clubs is look at the journey as soon as I go in, because that is usually the thing that's missing. There's no defined, this is what we do. This is what we're all about. And the great thing is, once you define that, the brand comes from that, and you're able to change even from the social media. Everything suddenly starts feeding from all these things. You suddenly, we do that. We do that. This is what
the opportunities start opening up.
Feeding so much more opportunity.
So I have to say, it's been blinding to talk to you as always. Whenever we get together, it's always like, when are we ever going to shut up? And I'm sure everyone's hopefully enjoyed some really good information from this. In terms of
on the other side, Wayne.
You're sorry?
So it's nice to be on the other side.
Absolutely love that. Well, look, it's been awesome. If people want to find you, where can our listeners find you?
I'll be on LinkedIn. I'm ever present on LinkedIn. So just go search Ryan Charlesworth. You can't miss me. I'm about the only one on there with that's so prominent. Or go to blackraccoon.org.
Fantastic.
So they can find us there. But I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Pretty busy on those
and
channels.
Hopefully what listeners have heard today is the fact that Ryan's one of our approved suppliers for one good reason. He knows what he's talking about. There's a lot of really good ideas, and super pleased to have that conversation with you as usual. Let's crack on with 2024.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good year. We've got loads going on as well, so it's going to be a really good year. So thanks for having us on.
No, thank you. Cheers, Ryan. Thanks for listening. We really want to help as many business owners in the fitness industry as we can. So if you know someone who could also benefit from listening to our episodes, remember to share it with them. That's really important. I want to get that message out there. And if you're enjoying Conversations with ClubRight, hopefully you are, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.